Welcome to Module 4, which corresponds to Chapter 5 of the Quantities Manual, and we'll be covering drainage networks in this chapter. The objective of this chapter is to teach the designer additional steps that are required for certain drainage parts to quantify correctly. The designer will get a basic understanding on how drainage parts are set up in the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit with pay item numbers already attached, which allows the designer to lay out the drainage network and not have to worry about attaching pay item information except for end walls and sections. The pay item information for all other pipes and structures are built into the FDOT Drainage parts list. A brief overview of drainage parts and networks is included in this chapter. The reason that EMX is needed to add additional X data is due to Adhocs that is a part of EMX. Using a mitered end section as an example, it not only contains the pay item number for the structure itself, it also contains a predetermined amount of sod based on the size of the structure, and it also contains a pay item number. In EMX, if you right-click on a structure, mitered end section, and select Edit Pay Item Data, you see the Attributes Adhoc box comes up. It has the pay item number, the description, the compute method, the layer, the block, if you're using just the blocks in this structure. On the Adhocs is where it has an additional pay item number and a predetermined size. So if you lay out using FDOT Drainage parts a drainage network with a mitered end section, you do get this pay item number, the main structure number, but you do not get the sod. So when you run a report, it'll come up as 0. So that's why it's important to append this data to a FDOT Drainage part, not necessarily using the block that comes from EMX. And depending on the part, it could have steel or sand as an ad hoc value that would need to be appended. So how the part list looks. So to show you what the FDOT Drainage parts list looks like, let me go back to the Start button here, Layout, pull down the templates, and open up the FDOT Master template. Now this template is used to create all of your design files using the Create file. I'd say 95% of those. So if I expand Pipe Network, Parts List, here's FDOT Drainage, and I go to Edit, you can see that you have a Pipes and Structures tab here. On your pipes, if I expand a particular part family, you see it has a pay item number associated with each size. Pipes, you don't have to worry about appending anything. All the X data is already associated to it. So when you run a report, it comes up correctly. On the structures, for the junction structures, they're all set too. They have pay item numbers that are associated for each part size within the part family. The issue is further down with mitered end sections or end walls. For example, if I open up the U-type concrete end wall here, click on the truck, you see there's no pay item here, but if I click on it, it has two pay items in here. It has the structure number itself, which what comes up, and it also has a turf sod. Now the limitation with Civil 3D and why you do have to append is only one compute method or formula can be applied to a part as of now. So even though it has two numbers, and as you draw your drainage network, and if you ran a report without appending, you would get the structure pay item number, and you would also get this, but it would come up as a 0 because it doesn't know how to compute. And there's really nothing to compute because it has a preset amount of sod associated with it. From EMX to your mitered end sections, your end walls, any end outlet or inlet structure attached to a pipe, you have to append. So to give you an example of what you have to do, let's do exercise 5.1, which is appending additional pay item information to drainage parts. In this exercise, you will append additional pay item information contained as an ad hoc to the parts that currently do not contain the required material that needs to be quantified. You will use EMX and will become familiar with the drainage parts that require this extra step. For this exercise, a proposed drainage file has been created with a drainage network data referenced in. So if you haven't already, open up the state kit, and within the drainage folder of your project, of your data set, open up drprrd01.dwg, and let's zoom to, once you have that open, to around station 712. So here we have S21 and S22, and they are both Class 2 concrete end walls. So if I hover over S21, you see it has 3 separate pay item numbers. But other than the structure, the others are just going to be 0 with a blank. Now, all you have to do is select the actual part here and append just like you would any other entity or object. Select it, hit enter, and if I hover over now, you see that it has a cubic yardage of concrete, 11.3. It also has 695 pounds of steel. So that's what those other 2 pay item numbers were, which had no X data attached. Now, because we appended to it, doesn't mean that it takes away from its 3D part. It is still a 3D drainage part. It just has extra X data attached. So if I window this, right click, and go to Object Viewer, you can still see that the 3D part element of it is still intact. So to sum up this chapter, it is very critical that the designer, either the drainage or another person working on a project that contains drainage, that the proper X data gets attached to it. Now, you'll be able to tell that nothing's been attached to it if you run your takeoff manager and get a report back that shows up as 0 for sod or steel. So you know that you will need to go back in and append to a structure. This concludes Chapter 5.